If you're anything like me, you hate the boring road textures that come with vanilla City Skylines. In a game all about building cities, creating realistic roads is one of the most important things you can do to improve the realism and aesthetics of your city. With the help of my new Road Texture Surfaces pack and a few decal packs already on PDX mods, I'll show you how you can take your boring vanilla roads and create a photorealistic look anywhere in your city. The mods we're going to be using to detail the roads in this video are the Road Textures Surfaces pack, which I have just released to PDX mods, Sully's Stain and Leakage decal pack, Sully's Tire Marks decal pack on PDX mods, and also the RealVision Decal pack, which is only available on Sully's Discord server for local download at the moment. These are all of the mods that you will need to create this look on your roads. I'm also going to be using a few other packs for extra detailing, such as Elgendo's trash decals. I've linked all the packs I'm using for this build in the description so you can find them easily there. So let's get started. The first and easiest thing we can do is use a function from the Area Bucket mod to find all of the existing surfaces in our build and replace them with higher quality surfaces. Once we have that option selected, we can swap through our different surfaces and find what we think works best for that specific area. I think I'm going to go with the concrete dark for this parking lot. We can go through the entire build and replace all of our existing surfaces now. Don't forget the small things like driveways and walking paths. The small things are what counts when creating a consistent and realistic image throughout the build. So you can see I'm going to go through this whole section, add variety to different paths and driveways, replacing all of the vanilla surfaces. Already you can see this is making a huge difference in the way our build looks, and we're just getting started. Our next pass through of detail will be to change the textures of the roads themselves. We can also use the Area Bucket tool to replace these. Technically, you can draw them out by hand, but I find it a lot easier to use this tool, and we can always refine the placement later. Once you have the area bucket selected, you can then change the size to fit the boundaries of your road, and with a bit of finesse, try to place these as accurately as possible. I really like to give different sections slightly different textures to give the roads that varied look. When transitioning between textures, I usually try to make the transitions around the crosswalks, although that's not a hard rule, that's just what I usually like to do. Now that we've got everything placed down, we can start refining by hand some of the areas that didn't quite place exactly as we liked. I recommend turning snapping off when doing this. A lot of the times it will try to snap to objects and make it a lot more difficult. This step is really important for those close-up screenshots and maintaining that fine granular detail across the build, so I highly recommend doing this step. Now that we've got the roads completed, let's work on the sidewalks. I've included a sidewalk texture in my pack. It's very important that when placing this texture, you orient your camera horizontally across the road. The surface will tile based off of what direction your camera is in when placing it, so in order to get the right look, you have to orient your camera correctly. For this reason, I highly recommend placing these by hand. It is time consuming, but it makes such a huge difference in the final product when you take that time to give your sidewalks some of that attention. Once again, I've got snapping off for the placement of all of these sidewalks, which I find is really important for making sure that I can maintain that control over the placement. And just look at that. So far, we haven't even placed a single decal on these roads. With just some well-placed surfaces, we're well on our way to creating a very detailed and photorealistic build. I've been looking for a good sidewalk texture for so long, and it really does make an enormous difference to my eye. Next, we're going to be getting into some decal placement using some of the packs we have available from creators like Sully, Static Noise, and Elgendo to take this build to the next level. I'm going to start off by using Sully's stain decals on the roads. I'm lowering these 0.3 meters into the ground, which I will be doing a lot for all of these decals. For certain things, I like lowering them into the ground a bit so they just show up more subtly on the surface. Things start looking really unrealistically dirty if you just place them without lowering them down first. So I'm just going through with all of our roads and all of our surfaces that are pavement or asphalt and just giving them a little bit of variation in their texture with this stain decal here. On these alleyway roads, I like to use this narrow decal here. I'm trying to inform the size of the decal based off of the size of the surface I'm placing it on, so these narrow decals work perfectly for the alleyway roads. Then I can use some of the larger decals for the parking lots and 4-lane roads later on. Now I'm moving on to these tire marking decals, which are also made by Sully. Some of these I will be lowering into the ground and some I won't. This is more of a stylistic choice on how pronounced you want the tire markings to show up. One thing to consider, if you lower the decals into the ground, they won't show up on the sidewalks. So that's a really easy way to get some of these intersection decals to fit in an odd intersection, and it won't look like people are driving all over the sidewalks. You can generally start out with placing tire markings on your intersections. There are specific markings for four-way intersections and also T intersections. Once you have the intersections laid out, you can start placing down some individual ones to give a little more variance and nuance to the texture of the roads. You'll see some of these markings are more or less pronounced than others. There's also these spiral ones, which are fun to place down. You can make it look like somebody did a sick donut in a parking lot or something like that. Now you can see me here using some of the RealVision decals from Static Noise, which are available on Sully's Discord server for local download. I really like this one specific decal that's in the pack. It's just kind of like a oil stain, oil spill sort of decal that I like to put on the sides of the roads. It just has this really fitting texture for pulling up on the sides of the roads and whatnot, and then it kind of goes off into the sidewalks a little bit too and gives the sidewalks a little bit of variation. So I really like that one. There's also this other one which I assume is some sort of, oil from a car or something like that you can put in like a turn lane or something like that. We've also got these crack decals that are also from the RealVision Decals pack. They're really nice, they're not too pronounced, but they're also not too hard to see, so they're really good for just adding that little bit of extra detail to the roads. And just like that, with some well-placed road detailing, we were able to transform this little block into a very realistic scene. Obviously, there was some more detailing going on behind the scenes to prepare this scene, but you can see in the video just how transformative only detailing the roads was. If you want to build stuff like this, definitely check out all of the mods I've listed in the description. Let me know if you found this video helpful. I may end up doing more detailing oriented tutorials like this in the future, so let me know if that's something you want to see going forward. If you liked the video, I would appreciate a like, and if you want to see more, consider subscribing, and I'll see you all in the next one.